You sometimes hear fibromyalgia referred to as a fad diagnosis or a new disease, but the truth is that fibromyalgia is far from new. It has centuries of history with multiple name changes and discarded theories along the way. While it hasn't always been accepted by the medical community, fibromyalgia has come a long way, and current research continues to offer proof that it is a very real physiological illness. Today, we will dive deep into the long and ever-evolving history of fibromyalgia. As far as recorded history is concerned, fibromyalgia goes back only 40 years or so, 1976 specifically. But a little more digging shows that it has roots that are hundreds, if not thousands of years old. Fibromyalgia may date all the way back to biblical times, in particular to the story of Job. Job said that gnawing pains that would take no rest led to restless nights. Back then, chronic pain that didn't seem to have a cause and couldn't be treated was seen as punishment sent from beyond. The idea of pain as punishment lasted until 4th century BC, when Hippocrates, known as the father of medicine, came up with the theory that pain had a natural cause. He thought that the brain was sending fluid to the lower limbs, and this led to pain in the body. More fluid meant swelling and inflammation, which caused the pain. In 1592, a French physician came up with the word rheumatism to describe joint and muscle pain, as well as soreness and stiffness that affected how easily you move. Rheumatism was a broad term that would have included fibromyalgia, as well as arthritis and many other illnesses. Eventually, doctors began to use muscular rheumatism for painful conditions that, like fibromyalgia, didn't cause deformity. By the 19th century, they learned that rheumatism also affected the body's soft tissues. Fatigue and sleep problems were also common symptoms. Tender points, trigger points, and nodules, common terms used in describing fibromyalgia today, also came into the picture in the 19th century. All of these terms played a role in how the understanding of fibromyalgia has taken shape over the years. They have all helped lead to today's understanding of the condition, that fibromyalgia is caused by a glitch in the way that the nervous system processes pain. Until the late 19th century, doctors thought that the changes in the nervous system that led to fibromyalgia must have a physical cause. But toward the end of the century, this idea changed. That's when an American neurologist came up with the theory that the symptoms of fibromyalgia resulted from life stresses, that an overload of stress led to fibromyalgia. The thought was that mental or emotional trauma, such as the death of a loved one or family troubles, caused stress overload for some people. In turn, this overload of stress led to fibromyalgia. Nearly a century later, this theory held true. Soldiers admitted to a British Army hospital complained of widespread aches and pains that didn't seem to have a physical cause. The soldiers all had two things in common: depression and stress. Similar cases were seen in U.S. military hospitals at the same time. 50 years later, soldiers with Gulf War syndrome had the same symptoms. To be clear, this does not mean that fibromyalgia is all in a person's head. However, these experiences do suggest that physical and psychological trauma may be a cause of fibromyalgia. In the early 20th century, the term fibrositis came into use. Medically, it came to mean fibro for connective tissue and itis for inflammation. Doctors use this term to describe discomfort caused by swelling in the muscles. This term was used for the next 7 decades. Widespread pain, tender points, fatigue, and sleep problems were all symptoms of fibrositis. Today, all of these are known symptoms of fibromyalgia. Around the mid-1930s, a study on pain pathways mentioned deep pain and hyperalgesia, a heightened pain response. This study may have been the first to suggest that the central nervous system was involved in the condition. An important point that needs to be highlighted here: during World War II, it was found that soldiers were especially likely to have fibrositis. Because they didn't show signs of inflammation or physical degeneration, and symptoms appeared to be linked to stress and depression, researchers labeled it as psychogenic rheumatism. And so, the ongoing debate between physical and psychological was born. Fibrositis continued to gain acceptance, even though doctors couldn't agree on exactly what it was. In 1949, a chapter on the condition appeared in a well-regarded rheumatology textbook called Arthritis and Allied Conditions. It read, "There can no longer be any doubt concerning the existence of such a condition." It mentions several possible causes, including infection, trauma, weather factors, and psychological disturbance. In the 1960s, the term fibrositis started to include other symptoms, and a description that's fairly similar to what's used for fibromyalgia today was born. The first description of fibrositis that truly resembles what we recognize today as fibromyalgia came in 1968. It was a paper by Eugene F. Trott that mentioned female predominance, general aches and stiffness, fatigue, headaches, poor sleep, tender points, and an important mind-body connection. 4 years later, researcher Hugh A. Smythe wrote a textbook chapter on fibrositis that had a major influence on future studies. He's believed to be the first to describe it exclusively as a widespread condition, which then helped to distinguish it from myofascial pain syndrome. In his description of the disorder, Smythe stated that non-restorative sleep, trauma, and emotional distress could all lead to heightened symptoms. He was also involved in a study that better defined tender points and suggested their use in diagnosis. The study also listed chronic pain, disturbed sleep, morning stiffness, and fatigue as symptoms that could help diagnose the condition. This all led to a set of criteria published in the early 1970s that provided the first modern description of what was yet to officially be called fibromyalgia. While researchers had made some good progress, they still hadn't uncovered the evidence of inflammation, itis, and fibrositis. It was then that the name was changed to fibromyalgia. It was in 1976 that the term fibromyalgia finally emerged. Its roots lie in Latin and Greek, fibra for fibrous tissue, myos for muscles, and agos for pain. In 1981, a seminal study came out which confirmed that pain, fatigue, and poor sleep were all significantly more common in people with fibromyalgia than in healthy controls. It also confirmed that multiple other symptoms were more common as well. These additional symptoms included subjective swelling, abnormal nerve sensations, as well as overlapping conditions such as irritable bowel syndrome, tension headaches, and migraines. This study established enough of a consistent symptom cluster to officially denote fibromyalgia as a syndrome. It was in 1990, after years of discussion and debate, that a group of organizations produced the American College of Rheumatology criteria for the classification of fibromyalgia. With this sudden influx of information came new challenges. Doctors, patients, drug manufacturers, and insurance companies all had questions. In the end, experts got together to revise the 1990 criteria 3 times. What experts know today. Clearly, the understanding of fibromyalgia has evolved over time, but one thing has remained the same. Fibromyalgia is a pain disorder. Neuroimaging techniques used in research have helped doctors to see that fibromyalgia is linked to changes in the central nervous system. Specifically, it's thought to be caused by a disorder called central sensitization. Central sensitization is defined as a state in which the central nervous system amplifies incoming sensory information across many bodily systems. It is a condition of the nervous system that is associated with the development and maintenance of chronic pain. Why the new outlook? Today, improvements in brain imaging and pain testing have helped doctors to see that fibromyalgia is a real problem happening within the body. It impacts the central nervous system, affecting how the brain processes pain. While experts know a lot more about fibromyalgia today than they did centuries ago, research continues. Today, a whole-person approach is becoming the standard of care. When doctors diagnose fibromyalgia, they look far beyond just pain. They now know that other symptoms are at play and realize that each person's experience with the condition is different and symptoms can come and go. Thanks for watching. If you got value from this video, please leave a thumbs up and share with anyone that you think could benefit from this information. Doing this will really help the channel and allow me to continue making these videos. And don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on future videos.